board approved our COVID-19 vaccination requirement policy last month, and staff created a system to ensure compliance with the order by all of our public charter schools. I'm pleased to share that all charter schools have met our initial reporting deadline, and as of today, 93.3% of teachers and staff working at DC public charter schools have received a full course of a vaccination against COVID-19. I really want to acknowledge the efforts of our school leaders to ensure that their employees take this critical step to keep our students and themselves safe. This includes the many public charter schools that actually implemented a staff vaccination mandate earlier in the school year prior to the mayor's order. Beginning this Wednesday, November 17th, we will publish the school staff vaccination rates at the LEA level. So you'll be able to see on our website a list at each LEA of their school staff vaccination rates, and that will be able to be found on our homepage of our website, and it will be updated monthly on or about the 15th of each month. Thought it was important to share that. I know that schools were working very tirelessly to make sure that they met and complied with the mayor's order, and we will keep this board and our public aware of those rates on our website monthly. So wanted to share that information.
Great, thank you. Thank you. And as you noted, great work on the part of all of our school leaders and faculty, and thanks as well to the PCSB staff for ensuring the broader sector's compliance with the mayor's order. So thank you, Dr. Walker-Davis.
Thank you.
All right, with that as some good news to begin the evening, we'll turn to our public comment. And as we move through each agenda item, Brianni, our moderator for the evening, will unmute DC PCSB staff or individuals that are here speaking on behalf of the school. The hand raising feature will be has been disabled, so individuals who've previously signed up to testify will be called upon. As a reminder to everyone who's not familiar with our meetings, all written public comment is available to the public on our website. If you didn't sign up by sending your name to the public comment mailbox before this meeting, please submit any and all comments you have to public.comment@dcpcsb.org, or you may call our public comment line to leave voicemail testimony at 202-328-2660 and select option 2. So we've got a number of public witnesses who have signed up to speak. 3, Brianni, Darlene Pearson, Nathaniel Green, and Lauren Farrell. And if we could start with Darlene Pearson.
Darlene, if you can raise your hand.
Do we want to see if Nathaniel's there, and then we can circle back to see if Darlene Pearson.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is my first time ever. This is all new for me.
We can hear you. Thank you for joining us. If you could just again state your name and then any remarks that you'd like to make, ma'am.
I am Darlene Pearson. I think I corresponded with you in the past about my daughter, Lazaria Escobar. And I just wanted to give some comments. I saw that the 10-year review for BASIS was on the agenda, and I spoke with Mr. Rose. And I just wanted to let you guys know that my daughter's doing very well. Under Mr. Rose's leadership, a lot of things have changed for the better. Lazaria was basically failing math for 2.5 years. He put some processes in place, and now I can proudly say that my baby is in 9th grade taking pre-calculus, and she's on her way to a B. And so I just wanted to let the board know that, BASIS is really working with parents to make things much better for the kids. And so that's pretty much my comments.
Ms. Pearson, thank you. It's great, first of all, to hear your daughter is doing well, and secondly, hear that you've been able to work with the school on addressing some of the challenges that you may have had. So I appreciate you coming out this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Brianni, next is Nathaniel Green.
Nathaniel, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, so I'm Nathaniel Green. I am a teacher at Basis DC. I've been teaching there since 2013. The second year the school was open, the first year that we had a high school. I taught our first high school science class, and I've taught that introductory biology high school class every year. So I've taught all of our high school students for every year we've been open. And now I'm also a Basis DC parent. My son is a sixth grader at Basis DC. So I've seen it from both sides. I would say, when we opened, we had really big aspirations about bringing college preparatory liberal arts open enrollment school to Washington, D.C. that's available and actively serving people from every single part of the district. And, there have been some real growing pains in reaching that aspiration, but I really think we've transformed from that being an aspirational goal to that being a realized goal. And, seeing our first graduating class that was tiny succeed, they're now graduating college and getting real jobs. And some of them are now graduating college because they put off for a year for the pandemic, but the ones that didn't have graduated and are now working real jobs and are like real people. And just the success we've had in terms of all kinds of different students that we serve really made me comfortable sending my son, who's intellectually curious and a bright kid, but does have a reading disability. I felt comfortable sending him to our school because we've gotten, especially under Mr. Rose's leadership, really on top of serving students with disabilities, in addition to our success with other students. And so, we really are fulfilling our mission of anyone who comes and is willing to do the hard work, we're going to give them the opportunity to succeed. And I really feel like the Basis has gotten to the point where we can, honestly and straightforwardly say that's what we're offering.
Thank you, Mr. Green. I appreciate you speaking both as a long-term faculty member at the school, which is tremendous, but now also as a parent. So thanks.
Thank you.
Brianni, our last public witness is Lauren Farrell.
Lauren, could you raise your, I'm sorry, Lauren, could you raise your hand? Lauren, could you raise your hand, please? I don't see any raised hands.
All right. Okay, well, that Lauren was our last public witness for this evening. If she's unable to join us, perhaps she'll submit written testimony. But we have one item on our public hearing agenda before we move into our formal voting agenda for the evening, and that agenda item is DC Prep Public Charter Schools facility amendment. And Brianni Melody is going to be joining us, Melody Sampson, from our team to present the amendment.
Hi, I am Melody Sampson, a senior manager in the School Performance Department. Tonight, the board will hear from DC Prep Public Charter School regarding the school's proposal for a new facility. The school is requesting to relocate its DC Prep Anacostia Middle School campus from 2501 Martin Luther King Avenue Southeast to 2330 Pomeroy Road Southeast, ahead of school year 22-23. The school will outgrow its current space by school year 22-23 when it begins enrolling sixth graders. The proposed facility is 1 mile from the existing site. Last month, the school and the DC Department of General Services executed a 25-year lease agreement with a 25-year renewal option for the proposed site. Representatives from the school are available to answer the board's questions.
Thank you, Melody. Brianna, can we make sure that the DC Prep team is brought into the Zoom, and then I'll ask if they have some opening remarks they'd like to make. Melody, do you know who specifically is joining us? It might make it easier for Brianna to find them.
Niels is here, and then there is one more. I can just a second, Bree.
I see a raised hand for Patrick Clowney. Is that a member of DC Prep? Okay.
And we should have one more, Barry Brinkley. Oh, there's Barry right there. Barry's under Patrick.
All right. Is that the whole team, Niels?
We are missing Patrick Clowney. He is our board chair. So you see Barry, that is our chief of staff. He's his name says Patrick Clowney, but that's actually Barry Brinkley. So we have one other person. He may be, if he's not on, he may join us later. But he, of course, may be here in spirit if we don't see him.
Well, we'll let you get started, and I'll ask Brianna if you can look out for the real Patrick Clowney. There we go. We got Barry updated. All right, Niels, you want to kick us off with any opening remarks? And I'm sure the board has some questions.
Yes, and please feel free to cut me off because, as you all may know, I tend to talk way longer than I should. But good evening, Chairman Cruz. Good evening, the rest of the Public Charter School Board. My name is Niels Ribeiro Yemofio. I am the Chief of External Affairs for DC Prep. I am joined by Barry Brinkley, our Chief of Staff, and I think that's Patrick down there, Patrick Clowney, our Board Chair and DC Prep parent. I'm excited to share more about our potential new home for our Anacostia Middle Campus. As you all know, DC Prep is an 18-year-old public charter school network of 6 schools serving in wards 5, 7, and 8. DC Prep serves over 2,100 students in PK3 through 8th grade, over 600 of which are residents of Ward 8, and is considered the highest performing network of charter schools in the city. At the time of the last rating, all of DC Prep schools were rated Tier 1 by the Public Charter School Board. DC Prep prides itself on many things, including our commitment to our students. We make a 10-year commitment to our alumni as they go to and through college and career through our Prep Next program. DC Prep opened our Anacostia Elementary campus in 2015 with 3- and 4-year-olds, growing up 1 grade level each year since then. Since that time, we have searched for a facility for those students' eventual Anacostia Middle Campus. Throughout 2018 and 2019, we believed that Bernie Elementary School, where we are now temporarily located, was a viable option for a long-term facility. Its occupants at the time, Excel Academy, was temporarily located there and was planning to relocate based on the terms of the lease. Because we were uncertain of if Excel would leave at the time, we also moved forward with identifying another potential home for our middle school. We found a piece of property off Frankfurt Street in the Fort Stanton community that would allow us to build a middle school by right. And we also learned that, as you all may remember, while not having issues with DC Prep as a school, the neighbors to the property were strongly opposed to a school being built at Frankfurt Street. We spent the next following months hosting several community meetings, having conversations with the single member district commissioner and the Fort Stanton Civic Association. DC Prep agreed that we would pause all work on Frankfurt Street as we focused our efforts on other options. We learned through the mayor's proposed FY21 budget that Bernie would no longer be an option for our middle school long-term. And we also learned later on that summer that the mayor provided a potential solution. Excel Academy would stay at Bernie. The DC Infrastructure Academy would move into a newly renovated facility at Spingarn so it could further expand its programming. and a public charter school would be able to operate in Wilkinson. We quickly reached out to neighbors and the S&D to gauge support for DC Prep in Wilkinson, and it was a clear yes. You can see that through the letters of support we received from neighbors, the ANC Commission, and the Fort Stand Civic Association. We also presented at a public disposition hearing on March 30th, hosted by the Deputy Mayor of Education and the Department of General Services. And later on July 12th, DC Prep, alongside parents, supporters, and Fort Stand neighbors, presented at a public hearing co-hosted by the DC Council Facility Committee, as well as the Economic Development Committee. And on August 3rd, DC Council of the Whole voted unanimously in favor of the disposition of the Wilkinson facility. This allowed us to move forward with signing a lease agreement with DGS, which was completed on October 4th. The lease agreement is for 25 years with the option to renew for another 25 years. We are excited about the benefits to the ward and immediate community through this move. This move would give community members access to our indoor gym, an outdoor space that would include a renovated amphitheater and multi-purpose field. The Infrastructure Academy will have 2 locations, one in Ward 5 and another new campus, allowing for it to remain in Ward 8. And as DC Prep will no longer need the property on 1619 Frankfurt Street for our middle school campus, the property would be sold and made into what the community would request the lot be used for. For example, potentially $7 million worth of additional housing to the ward. In closing, when we opened the Anacostia Elementary campus in 2015, it was not clear where our Ward 8 middle school would be located. The mayor proposed and the council approved the solution to this question via the FY21 budget. We thank the mayor and the council, especially Ward 8 Councilmember Trayon White and his team, who made it possible to find a solution that meets all parties' needs, and in particular, our students and their families. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you, Niels, and I'm sure my fellow board members will have some questions. Given the robust conversation about the Frankfurt property, 3 years ago, time has sort of lost all meaning, but some time ago when it was first became known of the acquisition, can you just say a few more words about the disposition of that property and the engagement with the community that your comments just suggested?
On the Wilkinson facility or the Frankfurt Street property?
The Frankfurt property.
Yeah, so as you all may remember, as we were looking for potential options for our home, 1619 Frankfurt Street was a lot that was for sale, and we pursued that facility. We purchased it the first week of December in 2019. And earlier, as we were doing the due diligence, members of the Fort Stand community came to a public charter school board meeting to advocate their concern for DC Prep to construct and operate a school in that physical location. They believe that it would behoove all parties, especially the city, to look for facilities that already existed in the physical location that a school could operate it. In fact, they mentioned the Wilkinson facility as a potential home for DC Prep's middle school. And so the community was adamantly concerned about a new construction going there, especially with the close proximity to other schools that were there. And in part of the conversation that we had with them, part of our agreement was to pause all work to pursue options. At the time, we believed that the Bernie facility was the option that we could pursue. And as I shared, the budget made it clear that that wasn't an option. And we continued to stay in close contact with the Fort Stand community. We had, it started off as bi-monthly and then later became monthly community meetings. There was multiple flyerings within the community. There was once the pandemic hit, we then pivoted to virtual meetings. We have, for almost, I want to say 2 years now, we've had a monthly newsletter, e-newsletter that goes out. I've presented several times at the ANC 8B Commission I've also presented at the Fort Stanton Civic Association meeting several times. I'm almost certain I'm forgetting some things. We have become very close friends. There's been a lot of conversations with the Fort Stanton community. And so they
So how
were,
are you?
and
I was just gonna. So
Sorry,
how are
just
you?
to-
How are you ensuring that the sale of the building will align with the wishes of the community as you articulated? Just from a how you actually make that work.
Yes, once we are close to being fully done with ensuring that Wilkinson will be the home for our Anacostia Middle Campus, we're actually going to use the platforms and communication mechanisms that we have been using this whole time, including continuing to share through our monthly newsletter where the progress is for everything. And then we are going to have a virtual meeting as well as continuing to talk with the ANC commissioners and the Fort Stanton Civic Association around what are the potential options they would like for 1619 Frankfurt Street to be. And we've had the conversations, but we wanted to just formally continue those conversations and start to do what we can from our side, try to ensure whenever the sale happens that they are excited, that they have had a true partnership with whoever is the owners of 1619 Frankfurt Street. So for the outcome to be what they have wanted it to be.
Okay. Thank you. Well, Leah, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to thank you for that. And it's nice to see everyone. Thank you for joining. The building off this and looking forward, as you experienced the last conversation around facility space, and then thank you for sharing with us all the process that you've gone through with partner agencies and with neighbors for the new location. Can you share with us how the input of what you learned through that process has informed the plans?
It has informed everything, and literally everything. For example, in thinking about what would be the components of the outdoor parts of the facility, when we shared that Wilkinson was an option, members of the community specifically said, we're excited for you all to be there to bring life into the part of the community that felt like there wasn't a lot of life brought into it. So they're excited about the transformation and specifically the utilization of outdoor spaces of the Wilkinson facility. They strongly suggested that we consider renovating the amphitheater and specifically thinking about how we can engage our students in that space, but also what kind of community activities will go into that space. And that was one of the things that we just absolutely knew before we even had conversations with contractors, that we will very much so think about how we would utilize the outdoor space. So I would say very much so they've had a hand in everything since the idea of us potentially being in Wilkinson became an option.
You mentioned, that the school will be within blocks of several other schools, including Moton Elementary and KIPP DC. And I wanted to better understand what impact do you see that having on those schools and what kind of collaboration or partnership might you have with them?
Yes, I would also include Washington School of Girls, which is located not that far from the facility as well. There's a few things. One, we have been in conversation with KIPP, with Washington Schools of Girls. We've outreached to Moton Elementary since the early stages of this process. And in the conversations that we have had, we've really talked about what plans have they already had installed to ease any concerns specifically around traffic congestion that neighbors have had. How can we partner and align and learn from their learnings to inform how we position ourselves in the community, specifically around traffic. And to also name another thing is there may be concerns around enrollment and things of that nature, but I wanted to name that we already serve that community. We have in the 8A commission, 300 of our students reside in 8A. Over 100 students reside in 8B. Those two commissions are essentially, Wilkinson is located right in between both of those commissions. So I won't say that this is, while it may be a new physical facility, this does not mean that we are new to operating and serving that community. We very much so have been since the early days of DC Prep. We are, if anything, moving to closer proximity to the community that we have been serving. So again, new location, but not necessarily new service to that community.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about your dealings with DC Infrastructure Academy about sharing the facility, and what are the operational considerations that you have in co-locating with them?
Yes, great question. So very much so, like we've talked with neighbors, early group that we've had conversation with has been the DC Infrastructure Academy, which has served as a great partner in this. I will say that while we may physically be in the same facility, how we see it is that these are two separate facilities that are located within the same building. There will be no sharing of internal space. You have to physically leave the building to go into the other facility that is operating there. If they're in the outdoor space, there is already a fence that we are going to extend and enforce to separate the physical playground to the field that the Infrastructure Academy is utilizing. In the early conversations when we talked about where the locations would be, we had conversations around how long we would operate there, our plans for the phases of operating the work, just to think about how long it would take for the Infrastructure Academy to move from this facility to their newly renovated facility. So I say all that to say that I believe we've been great partners and vice versa with the Infrastructure Academy, and we continue to feel a strong sense of collaboration with them as we've started to do assessment work in the facility.
Thank you.
How does the school community feel? Can you share with us what the reaction and input from families and educators has been?
Yes, and I can, of course, turn to our board chair, who wears many hats, including being a DC Prep parent. But I can quickly share a few things. I just need to say, our Anacostia families who have been with us since the trailers, they have gone through a lot. They have been to, at this point, this will be maybe the fourth move that they've had to do to a new location. They are tired and they are ready to call someplace a home. And so when we shared that Wilkinson can be and will be their home, you can imagine the excitement that they have. But I will name what sealed the deal, in my opinion, and I will argue Barry and several others would agree that this is what sealed the deal, is the possibility of our Anacostia elementary campus and our middle campus locating in the same facility. Being able to locate both sides of our Anacostia schools in the same facility sent our families through the roof and shared abundant amount of support for the idea of us locating in Wilkinson. So needless to say, they're tired and they are really excited about the opportunity to have a home and for that home to be both for the elementary and the middle schools. But Patrick, I don't know if you wanted to add anything from your point of view.
No, I would agree with everything that you've said, and thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. The only thing I would add is that when you look at the renditions of just the facility itself, and that's an important part of learning in an educational atmosphere, and the millions of dollars that DC Prep is pouring into it, it's going to be a first-rate facility that parents and students are going to be excited to walk into that. And even Neil's talked about the outdoor area, the amphitheater. I mean, that's when you look at the renditions of the drawings when it's finished, it's just going to be a beautiful space for kids to kind of hang out, learn, play. But yes.
Thank you. Well, exciting, and we're excited to see this all move forward. Board members, any other questions for the DC Prep team?
I have one more. When do you expect the renovations to be complete, and do you have contingency plans if there's any delay?
Yes, so this summer, I think approximately August, and Barry, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. And contingency, it really just depends on what the issues are. If we're saying that 100% of what we were planning to be renovated wouldn't be renovated by that time, then there's options to have some classes be able to operate in the space that is ready and good to go. Knowing that we are planning for the space to house 4th through 8th grade, but next year it will be 4th through 6th grade. So if some space isn't ready, we will still, and depending again on the concerns, still be able to move there and move there with concerns. If there are other options, we will need to adjust. We of course still have our Anacostia Elementary campus. We are using 100% of that space, but we'll have to be, we'll have to show some ingenuity to figure out how to utilize that space as well. And then of course, DGS is very aware and involved of this move, and DGS, or the city, also owns Bernie. And so we have already started to have that conversation of what will happen if we need to think about potentially being in Bernie slightly longer. They have strongly said we don't need to worry about that, and hope we agree as well. But just to name that, we are starting, or we have continued to think about contingencies, and we luckily have a few options to play with depending on what issues arise.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, Niels, Barry, Mr. Clowney, thank you for joining us this evening. This matter comes before us to a vote on December 20th, I believe. So that's when this board will be asked to vote on this matter, but appreciate all of the information and updates this evening, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Take care.
All right, board members, that was our sole item for our public hearing this evening. So we're going to roll right into our public meeting. And if I could start by getting a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the November 15th, 2021 board meeting agenda.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jim. And now roll call vote. Ricardo Ganja.
Aye.
Thank you. Leah Crucy.
Aye.
Jim Sandman.
Aye.
And it's an aye for me as well. So the agenda is approved. And next we will bring to vote a charter review for Basis DCP CES. It's 10-year review. Neda Musa from our school performance department, I believe, is going to join us, Brianni.
Good evening. My name is Neda Musa. I'm a specialist in the school performance department. Tonight, the board will vote on the charter review and continuance of Basis DC Public Charter School. The following charter review standards applies to each school. The School Reform Act stipulates that DC PCSB shall review a school's charter at least once every 5 years. As a part of this review, DC PCSB must determine whether the school committed a violation of applicable law or a material violation of the conditions, terms, standards, or procedures set forth in its charter, including violations relating to the education of children with disabilities, and whether the school failed to meet the goals and student academic achievement expectations set forth in its charter. If DCPCSB determines that a school has committed a violation of applicable law or material violation of the terms of its charter or has not met its goals, the board may, at its discretion, revoke the school's charter or grant the school conditional continuance. Additionally, there is a fiscal component to the charter review. Per the School Reform Act, the board is required to revoke a school's charter if it determines that the school has engaged in a pattern of non-adherence to generally accepted accounting principles, has engaged in a pattern of fiscal mismanagement, or is no longer economically viable. Basis DC Public Charter School is up for its 10-year review. The school educates 652 students in grades 5 through 12 at one facility located in Ward 2. The school adopted the Performance Management Framework, or PMF, as its goals. In doing so, it committed to earning at least 50% of the possible PMF points in 2 of the most recent years, and earning at least 45% in 4 of the previous 5 years. The school met its goals, earning an average of 71.4% on the PK8 PMF and 96.8% on the high school PMF. DC PCSB staff determined the school has not committed a material violation of the law or of its charter, has adhered to generally accepted accounting principles, has not engaged in a pattern of fiscal mismanagement, and is economically viable. While Basis DC Public Charter School has met the standards for charter continuance, DC PCSB staff has concerns about the school's persistently low special education enrollment rates, which indicate the school is not as accessible to students with disabilities. The percentage of students with disabilities enrolled has ranged between 3.5% and 4.4% throughout the review period, the lowest rate among all DC public charter middle and high school for the past 4 years. Further, enrollment rates for level 3 and 4 students with disabilities was 1.1% in school year 2020-21, compared to an average of 6.3% at other charter middle and high schools. While the school's special education enrollment rates are low, it is important to note that Basis DC public charter school students with disabilities consistently outperform their peers across the charter sector in academic growth and proficiency. Based on these findings, DC PCSB staff recommends that the board exercise its discretion to continue the school's charter with a condition. We recommend requiring the school to create and implement a recruitment and retention plan for students with disabilities, as well as a special education plan that will support an increased volume of students with disabilities in the school. We also ask that the school reflect on its progress implementing its plans and enrolling and retaining students with disabilities in its annual report every year leading up to its 15-year charter renewal. Basis DC Public Charter School representatives are available to speak to the school's performance over the past 5 years and to answer the board's questions.
Thank you, Netta. Brianna, can we make sure we've got the Basis team, I believe, who is speaking on behalf of Basis, and we'll give you an opportunity to start with any opening remarks.
Good evening, Chairman Cruz and members of the board. My name is Tony Axum, and I'm here tonight at Basis Washington, D.C. with school leaders and staff as a representative of Basis D.C. Public Charter School Board of Directors. I've been a member of the board since 2018 and have actually been a member of the Basis community for much longer, since 2012. When my son entered Basis as a 5th grader in its inaugural year. And I'm happy to say that he graduated Basis in the class of 2020 last year and is now successfully at Yale University. As a member of the board, we appreciate the quality and engaged oversight of the PCSB and staff that it provides our school. And I recently participated in a board-to-board meeting in June of this year that is referenced in the 10-year review report by your staff. And though we may not have seen eye to eye on every point, we recognize and value our shared commitment to equitable programming for students in Washington, D.C. The Basis D.C. board and I look forward to partnering with you to continue operations as one of the best schools in the city. And as I turn it over to our head of school, Alex Rose Henning, I'll remain on hand to support our staff and to answer any questions. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Axum, and thank you, Chairman Cruz, Public Charter School Board staff, and Public Charter School Board itself. I'm Alex Rose Henning. I'm the head of school here at Basis DC. We had some slides for you, but it looks like we're not able to share our screen to show you those slides. I know we sent them to your staff if they're able to share them. Otherwise, I can also just speak a little bit on some of the things that your staff, the PCSB staff, has shared with you, and also just add some nuance to the way that BASIS DC performs and the amazing educational opportunities that we provide to DC students. In the interest of time, we can send you the PowerPoints again, but I'll just go ahead and share with you.
Oh, we can see them.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I can click, but BASIS DC fundamentally is a school for anybody who wants what we have to offer. We offer amazing educational opportunities in a traditional, rigorous, liberal arts program. We're not a STEM school, we're not a art school, we're not a math school, we're a traditional American education. And as such, we believe in the power of public education in all of its historical context here in America. We are a school that is wonderfully diverse, that is focused on the simple goal of getting all students access to, into, and through the colleges of their dreams. And in many ways, our results speak for themselves. We are an incredibly diverse community where we serve students from every zip code in this city, from every ward, from every neighborhood. And our students and our staff are all committed to a dialogue around diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have a staff population that resembles our student population, and this spirit of support, care, and love for our students and for our diverse community, in addition to our rigorous curriculum, produce some truly spectacular results that it's worth just providing a little bit of nuance to what the PCSB staff compiled in their wonderful 10-year report review. For example, looking at the 2018 PARCC scores, 18-19 school year PARCC scores, you can see that BASIS DC outperforms the city in almost every measure that you can possibly record. I know the staff shared, and thank you for sharing, the fact that our special education students, for example, outperform the city average. But when we talk about outperforming the city average, we're not talking about 1 or 2% more. We're talking about 3 or 4 times the city average when it comes to performance outcomes like PARCC results, or importantly, other academic factors that may not solely be citywide testing. If you look at things like our behavior within our school, our suspension rate, our in-seat attendance rate, Nada, if you don't mind going to the next slide, our students outperform the city from any background, from any experience, from any zip code, on really any measure that you can find. And that sense of love and support, the same is true for, like you see here, this in-seat attendance rate. That love and support, that rigorous educational curriculum is what causes BASIS DC to really have these amazing results. And obviously, our focus, we're a traditional, rigorous liberal arts college preparatory curriculum. And the most fundamental result there is students getting into colleges of their dreams. Just as kind of a high line, we're not just talking about 100% college acceptance. We're really talking about getting students the financial resources to be successful in college. Across all of our graduating classes, BASIS DC students have earned over $24 million in merit-based financial aid. This isn't need-based financial aid. This is merit-based financial aid. And that average per student, again, you can see it is true across different background, across different sector of students. We're really here to support all of the students in Washington, DC. And I just want to conclude by saying a huge thank you to both the Charter School Board and to the Public Charter School Board staff for their recommendation for a positive vote to continue providing that amazing college and career rigorous traditional liberal arts education to all members of the Washington, D.C. community. And I really just want to emphasize that word all. We are truly a school for anybody who wants what we offer, who wants to have access to those amazing college and career outcomes, to our supportive community, and to our rigorous advanced paced curriculum. So I turn it over for questions, but I just want to say thank you again for everybody and hope for a positive vote.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Board members, I'll open it up for any questions or comments.
I have a question. I thank you for your presentation and thank you for the excellent job you've done in educating your students. I note that your performance, particularly for special education students, is significantly better than the DC averages. But as the report from staff notes, for each of the last 4 years, BASIS has had the lowest percentage of special education students at middle and high school levels of any school in the public charter network. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that BASIS consistently enrolls a smaller percentage, a significantly smaller percentage of special education students than other charter schools?
Absolutely. I think there's a couple of things that work. I think one of them, of course, is important to note that as a charter community, we fundamentally believe in family choice. Obviously, I think there is a piece of the puzzle here, which is the My School DC lottery. We enroll all of the students, regardless of background, who come to us through that My School DC lottery. And we're certainly committed to engaging with PCSB in their recommendations. However, it's important to note that element of parent choice and the fact that the lottery provides for us the students who seek to apply. I think it's also fair to say, in terms of school choice, that not every family is seeking a rigorous traditional liberal arts college preparatory education. That might not be the intended progression of every family for their student. Of course, we have students who go off and go to technical universities. We have students who choose to go to a career instead of a four-year university. But that fundamental curriculum is fundamentally a parent choice idea. Certainly, we really provide this amazing outcome for special education students, and we're definitely open to continuing the already robust ways in which we encourage all families to apply to our school. I go to ANC meetings every year to go and advertise and encourage people to come join our community. We hold many open houses, at times convenience to families of all different backgrounds. We offer tours and shadow days. And so I think getting the word out there and advertising ourselves to parents is going to be important to help continue to enroll special education students into our curriculum.
And I just want to play, thank you for your response. I just want to play devil's advocate on the parents' choice argument. A school can influence the way parents exercise that choice. A school can signal that it might not be a great place for a student, a special education student to be. So you can say parents are making that choice, but they're not making, the argument would be, I'm playing devil's advocate, that they're making that choice in response to signals that the school is sending out, maybe implicitly, if not explicitly. What is your response to that?
My response to that is that I say unequivocally, both in terms of myself as a school leader in the community that I support, that the only thing we advertise is the love and support that we provide to all students. I think, when we go on tours, when I give open houses, the refrain that you saw on the slide and that I shared with you just a few moments ago is something that we say consistently. It is almost the first line of any open house that we give of any tour, is that BASIS DC is a school for anybody who wants what we have to offer. And I think I cannot equivocate on the fact that we advertise a feeling of, yes, it's a difficult school. There's no denying the fact that it's a rigorous curriculum. The charter, as approved, requires a certain number of AP classes and AP exams. But that level of rigor doesn't discount the fact that for a student who chooses that, who comes to our school, who wants that college preparatory experience, we are going to help them every day and every way, every step of the way until they're able to meet those benchmarks. So, I simply say there is no implicit or explicit signaling that I'm aware of as a leader of this school, other than the signaling that we love our students and we want to support them.
I'll just give you a reaction. If I were a parent hearing that, it's the emphasis you're putting on what we have to offer. We're open to any student who is interested in what we have to offer. There's a way to put that in a way that can be heard as unwelcoming to some. I think that's just human nature. How do you counter what to me would be a very natural human reaction to the interpretation of what you're saying?
I mean, I would say in the same way that we support our students, we support our interested families to help make sure they understand what that means and who we are as a school. I certainly am not disagreeing with you, Mr. Sandman, at all about how some people may internalize that. I also don't want to be dishonest to our families who seek to apply. We have to be upfront with them that taking, for example, 6 AP exams is a core part of our curriculum. It's part of who we are. And getting a 3 on at least one of those exams is also equally part of our charter. And so I want to simply be forthcoming about what it is that our curriculum expects. And also at the same time, be crystal clear that we have a full third of my staff is devoted to supporting students of some type of individual need. We have a director of exceptional student services who supervises a team of 17 people, anywhere from ELL support staff to reading interventionists, math interventionists. We have a case manager to special education student ratio of almost 3 to 1. So again, I just want to be clear that the expectations are high, and so is the support, right? It is forthcoming to the parents that you will get both of those coming to our school. Yes, there will be difficult learning ahead, and yes, we need you to want that for your kid, because it will mean 2 hours a night of homework some days, but also we're going to support you every step of the way. And I hope that answers.
Yes, my recommendation to you would be that in describing your school to parents and students, you put at least as much emphasis on the availability of supports as you do on the rigor of your education.
Thank you, Mr. Sandman. I appreciate that feedback.
I'm just going to piggyback on what Jim was asking, but maybe from a different angle, which is, how would you describe to a parent of a student who has specific needs, how you will support them through what we all understand is a very rigorous program, especially as they advance through the grades?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you're asking how we describe that to them at the moment of maybe a tour or an open house, or how you're talking about that maybe when they get their waitlist offer, or on the first couple of days or weeks of school. I think the answer varies depending on how much a part of our community have they yet become. Certainly, during all of my tours and open houses, Mr. Clayton, my director of special education, student support services, he's there with me, right? And so say, for example, we're having a virtual open house and a parent says, hey, well, what about my student's IEP? They have, XYZ concern. I'll open up a breakout room and have them chat with Mr. Clayton right then and there, or schedule a meeting with him. As we approach the school year, of course, and we have our newly enrolled families, we meet with every family over the summer and within the first couple of days of school to talk about what does implementation of your IEP look like within our school day, within our school community? What revisions do we need to make? We even met with 4 or 5 of our families. We're coming from the same school into our school this year with a similar disability category. And we met with those with that other school, and we talked to the case managers at the other school, and built a robust plan for making sure that their students were supported, again, every way and every day throughout our curriculum.
So, clearly both as signaled through the report that the staff put together and through the questions, the school has gotten from our board over the years. We pay close attention to many of the subgroups. Tonight, we're talking specifically about the special ed subgroup. The other notable distinction is the low enrollment of at-risk families. So just would love your sort of thoughts on that in terms of how you think about the recruitment and the broader diversity of the community that you've built, that is diverse certainly by a number of descriptors, but interestingly, we didn't see the at-risk performance of your students compared to those at other schools or across the sector.
Well, if we left those off the slides, my apologies. They certainly are also higher, similar to the special education, as you look at the different kind of academic and behavioral outcomes. I just want to start again unequivocally. We are a school for all students, and we would like to see that number of at-risk students continue to apply through the My School DC lottery, continue to be accepted, and continue to be supported within our school community. For the past couple of years, I've focused my all of the school's outreach, marketing, and different kind of materials that we provide to helping ensure that we continue to bring in a diverse school community, that we continue to be a school that is truly serving a population of students that is similar to the population of DC. The fact of the matter is, there's no desire on the part of Basis DC not to have at-risk students. There's no desire on the part of Basis DC to not encourage those students to apply. We'd like those students to continue to apply to our school, and we'd like to continue to serve them. If you're asking Chairman Cruz about kind of the specifics of the strategy of how we're working to increase that enrollment, I certainly would be happy to talk about it, and probably that might be something better focused in a longer narrative communication.
Leah, did you have questions?
I appreciate the presentation and the questions from my fellow board members. I think as I've been listening to the dialogue back and forth, I have been, and I don't have the presentation right in front of me, so forgive me if this is on there. In the presentation or expression of outreach to prospective families, is there a grounding in the network's values of believing in the potential of every child? Because there's kind of a back and forth here of the rigor and value of a high quality curriculum. And then there's the kind of grounded value in believing every child. We want every child to come here and believe in their capacity. I'm not in a tour right now. I look forward to having one and then hearing from others what their experience is. But I think the expression that I'm hearing my colleagues look for is not just in what the school has to offer, but in what the schools how the school seeks to welcome a broad array of students and valuing the students' experiences that may be different than what the school has traditionally served.
Absolutely. When I give a tour, just you were speaking about tours. We had a tour earlier today, and when I give a tour, I actually talk about exactly what I spoke to this board about in the presentation today. I talk about the outcomes for maybe the first 5 minutes, and the entire rest of that tour is actually talking about how do we get there. And when we do that, we talk about three things. We talk about certainly the curriculum, the accountability, but Of those three things, accountability, autonomy, the third one is support. Or the first one is support, really, when we're going on the tour. And so from the start of, as we message to our prospective future BASIS students, we're talking with a perspective rooted in the types of supports that BASIS provides. From anywhere from, and really the way we talk about it is leveling that support for any student based on their individual needs. It could be something as simple as the regular ongoing student hours that our teachers provide. At BASIS DC, every single teacher in our school offers an hour for parents after school every week and an hour for students after school every week to provide support. It could be as simple as that. It could be as simple as the executive functioning skills that we teach our students through the way they progress through our day and the communication agenda book that they carry. But it could be that they need academic support where they're meeting one-on-one with my dean, for 10 minutes once a week and working on their to-do lists. It could be that they're working with the reading interventionist because they're not quite feeling like they're ready for the English curriculum that they're working on. It could be that, as we get to those older ages and the students are feeling anxious or nervous about the college experience, it could be talking to the families about the college counseling and the fact that they'll sit with their college counselor for 50 minutes every day as part of our program. So all of those different levels of support, the support we provide, leveled appropriately for the student to ensure that they have access to the curriculum. And hey, that's what special education is all about. That's what we communicate to families on a tour or otherwise. And if you'd like to come for a tour, I'm certainly happy to have you.
Thank you.
Great. I'd also like to thank you for the presentation, and I really appreciate the rigor and the outcomes of BASIS DC. I do want to take you up on the offer to think more strategically after this meeting about some of the strategies you might be able to take to address equitable recruiting, equitable onboarding, and equitable ongoing understanding of the student experience. Again, really thrilled with the results that you're getting overall with student performance and seeing some opportunities for improvement to support the underrepresented groups in your school.
Thank you.
I'll just add, Mr. Rosen, for your overall leadership team and everyone gathered there today, that despite some of the probing questions we're asking, I personally really do respect the work that you're doing, and having visited the school a number of times, I don't think under your leadership most recently, but a number of times, really do think that there's some amazing stuff going on in the school. And I'll speak for myself. My questions come from a place of wanting to ensure that more students and families have access to them, especially students that I think this board in its volunteer capacity spends significant time thinking about the choices, the supports that they have, that they might not have as much access to. And when we see outcomes like those at BASIS, that's personally what I'm most interested in, and how to make those more broadly available to as many students in as many parts of the city, and in particular, parts of the city where there are currently not as many options, and where they can't get as robust a set of programming as you all offer. So I hope you take the questions and the comments in the spirit that they're offered, which is the larger growth that we need to do, certainly in DC and across the charter sector.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for their time, my staff, your staff, and the board. That equity in education is so important. It is part of why BASIS as a network came to this city. We want to continue to provide those amazing educational outcomes to all students of all backgrounds. One of the students who recently graduated, and it's the first time they're going off, some member of their family is going off to college. comes from a traditionally underserved background and left our school with a full ride to a very prestigious university. And that type of offer, that type of experience, and that, again, a big piece of equity in this city, the conversation can and should be around access. And certainly that access conversation is something we're deeply committed to continue to engage with you and with the broader DC community around.
Board members, any other questions at this time?
Just want to add a note of gratitude to the folks I can't see so well right now, but I know are in the room, who have worked really hard over this last year and a half to serve your students and school communities. So thank you for all that you've done.
Chairman Cruz, if I may, it's been said already, but I just wanted to acknowledge the work of the staff in putting this report together, and quite frankly, the exchange with the BASIS team also to get us to where we are tonight, and the openness to continue to engage in this conversation. Just wanted to make sure that I said that.
Thank you for raising that. Yeah, thank you. All right, board members, I will entertain a motion. I will volunteer someone if thank you.
I move to continue the charter of BASIS DC Public Charter School with the condition as proposed by staff.
Thank you, Leah. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Jim Sandman?
Aye.
Leah Crucy?
Aye.
Ricardo Ganjam?
Aye.
And it is an aye for me as well. BASIS team, congratulations. The motion passes. I think you will have a number of follow-up steps from our board who I believe would be interested to visit and hear more about a number of the topics that we discussed today. So you should anticipate that.
Thank you, guys, and we welcome the visit and dialogue.
Great. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our next matter of business. And I believe we have Mike Bayek up, our Director of Finance, on the administrative fee policy revisions.
Mike, you're in.
All right, good evening. My name is Mike Bayek. I'm the Director of Finance. This evening, our board has been asked to vote on the proposed update to our administrative fee policy that was open for public comment through October 18th. We received and reviewed public comment from 3 sources, shared it with our board, posted it on our website, and reflected many of the public comment suggestions in the final proposal for the board's vote this evening. The policy has been revised to number 1, exclude from the calculation of DC PCSB's annual administrative fee certain federal and local emergency relief funds retroactive to fiscal year 2020. Number 2, update the administrative fee invoicing process and timing. And number 3, clarify the optional administrative fee discount. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. I'll just say appreciate, Mike, you and the teams navigating what has been a particularly interesting context over the last year with so many new and diverse funding opportunities that have come up for schools. So really appreciate navigating that and putting to paper the set of policies and some of the revisions, and also taking on board the feedback and input from the community of schools and beyond, even if not all of their reflections were incorporated into the final policy.
Thank you.
Board, I know we talked a bit about this when we opened this for public comment last month, but I'm happy to create a few moments if there are any additional questions.
I'm just wondering if it's worth outlining some of any adjustments that were made since our last meeting that's worth just sharing publicly of what was included in the exclusions and was not included in the exclusions, if that made any sense.
I'd be happy to do that, Leah. So we included the following recommendations from the public comment. Our original documentation was to support carving out only federal emergency relief funds. And the question came up, can we also carve out just local funds from OSSI and others that also pertain to COVID? So those types of things that we've decided to include that were specifically mentioned in the public comment are the OSSI grants for COVID-19 testing, school-based clinical support, and contact tracing. We also included OSSI PCS reopening grant, fiscal year 21. Also OSSI PCS reopening facilities grant, fiscal year 22. The FCC emergency connectivity fund. And although it wasn't in the public comment, we also learned that there was an employee retention tax credit that some of the charter schools are eligible for. And that also is very similar to the PPP funding that many of the schools have received. So those are the items that we've included. As far as ones that we did not include, the National School Lunch and other food programs, there's reimbursements that schools receive for that. And those funds will still be included in the revenues for administrative fee calculation. Also, the federal entitlement programs such as Title I, IDEA, Medicaid reimbursement, and competitive federal and state grants. Also program fees, student fees, and just for clarification, there was an ask for rental income where subleases are done at the facilities. And we have been including as part of the exclusions in the investment income, the sublease income. So that's already being excluded from the fee. I believe that answers your question.
Thank you.
Sure.
Jim, Ricarda, any other questions or actions? Otherwise, I will take a motion.
I move to approve the revisions to the administrative fee policy.
Second.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Jim. Roll call vote. Ricarda Genjum.
Aye.
Leah Cruci.
Aye.
Jim Sandman.
Aye.
And it's an aye for me as well. That motion passes. All right, Mike, don't go anywhere. The fiscal financial analysis report technical guide next.
Thank you, Rick. Hello again. This evening, our board has been asked to vote on the proposed fiscal year 2021 financial analysis report, or FAR, technical guide that was open for public comment through October 18th. We received public comment from one source in support of the proposal, shared it with our board, and posted it on our website. The FAR technical guide has been revised to reflect changes in, number one, DC PCSB's vision, mission, and ready commitment. Number two, generally accepted accounting principles. Three, generally accepted auditing standards. And four, emphasis and increased clarity surrounding certain key financial indicators. And finally, number five, other information to enhance the reader's understanding.
Thank you, Mike. And any questions on the FAR technical guide? Jim?
I don't have any questions, but I'd just like to thank Mike and the staff for their excellent work on this and the very clear explanation of the changes they're making.
Thank you.
All right, unless there are any questions, I will take a motion on this as well.
I move to approve the fiscal year 2021 financial analysis report technical guide.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. A roll call vote. Jim Sandman,
Aye.
Leah Cruci,
Aye.
Ricardo Ganjum,
Aye.
and an aye for me as well. Thank you, Mike. Great work from the finance team as always.
Thank you.
All right, now we're on to our consent calendar. Before I ask for a motion on our consent calendar, is there anything in the consent calendar that a board member would like to remove and discuss in greater detail, or any item that necessitates a recusal? If not, once again, I'll ask for a motion in a second.
I move to approve all items on the consent calendar.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote on that as well. Leah Cruci,
Aye.
Jim Sandman,
Aye.
Ricardo Ganjum,
Aye.
and it's an aye for me as well. All right, almost last item on the agenda, which is our election of new board officers. Before we begin that process, just want to take a minute to remind everyone, those who may not follow this as closely, about how this process works. Every member of the DC Public Charter School Board, this board, is appointed by the mayor and approved by the DC Council. We each serve a 4-year term and can then be reappointed for one additional 4-year term. Separate from those appointments and that appointment process, the board annually votes to elect officers from amongst its members who will serve in the role for the following year. I'm now going to open the floor for officer nominations for this year's new board officers.
I would like to nominate the following slate of officers: Leah Cruci as chair, Jim Sandman as vice chair, Rick Cruz as treasurer, and Ricardo Ganjum as secretary.
Thank you, Ricardo. All right, so any discussion necessary? Any other nominations? Not, we will take a vote. So the nominations again are Leah Cruci as chair, Jim Sandman as vice chair, myself, Rick Cruz as treasurer, and Ricardo Ganjum as secretary. So we'll do a roll call vote for this. Jim Sandman.
Aye.
Leah Cruci.
Aye.
Ricardo Ganjum.
Aye.
And it is aye for me as well. We have new officers. Congratulations. Very exciting. I will feel anticlimactic because the next item is any new business. I don't think so. And if not, we will vote to adjourn. Can I get a motion to adjourn? This is a very motion heavy board meeting.
I move to adjourn the November 15th, 2021 board meeting.
Second.
Motion in a second. Roll call vote. Leah Cruci.
Aye.
Ricardo Ganjum.
Aye.
Jim Sandman.
Aye.
And an aye for me as well. Thank you all for taking on board leadership. Very much appreciate that as we roll into 2022 soon enough. So thank you. We are adjourned for the evening, and I will look forward to our December meeting being helmed by Ms. Cruci. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.